player of the week. But
yeah, hard not to like that team.
Hard to not like that team, honestly, because I looked at them and I was like, all right, there's no way they do it again. Welcome back to the Targeting Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Boys, how are we doing this week?
We're doing wonderful.
Absolutely great, man. I'm back in Titletown. Oh, it's good to be back.
Glad to have Justin.
I'm in the garden right now, so everything's good.
Yeah, basically. Glad to have Justin back. By the way, Justin, are you going to before we start off, are you going to the Celtics game tomorrow?
Monday.
You going?
The first I am the first actual game in the Garden with fans for the Celtics. So yeah, I'm definitely hyped. And there was never really, let's be honest, there was never a chance I wouldn't be in that building. I need to be there, and I will. I'm doing my part for the team, you know.
Exactly. Are you to your balcony?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Up against the wall, but happy to be in the building.
Glad to hear, guys. Yeah, that's gonna be
can't complain.
Sure.
Can't complain.
Yeah,
all right,
I'm absolutely hyped.
We'll go into player of the week. I'll start. You guys are probably not going to agree with this, but just a fan favorite, and you may or may not have heard about this guy. He was kind of all over social media, but Cameron Krutwig out of Loyola, Chicago. Okay, so Manson put up like insane numbers. So the Illinois game, he had 19 points, 12 boards, 5 assists, and 4 steals, which that was like his biggest game. And then the Georgia Tech game, he had 10 points and 5 boards. So not, crazy numbers, but just by looking at the guy, you wouldn't think like he would like necessarily take over or even impact the game in any sort of way. A little bigger and just kind of slower, but they beat Illinois. So, I mean, you can't
argue with the facts.
You can't bet.
Yeah, that man is crazy. I see people calling him like mini Jokic and stuff. He really just does everything, and like you look at him, and he's a guy that you wouldn't expect to dominate, but he does. And yeah, I mean, he definitely. It's crazy that he's carrying them to another run in March Madness. I remember the last one like it was yesterday.
Crazy. But yeah, so that's my player of the week. John, you want to go with yours?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big week in basketball, so I hate to not give it to McCollum or any other big guys who had some big nights this week with like I think it was De'Aaron Fox. What was it, 44 points or something? 40 points.
Yeah.
So I want to give it to these guys, but I can't. When we got Zibanejad making a record now with the great one himself.
Back-to-back weeks, this guy. He is playing unreal hockey.
Zibanejad had 3 goals, 3 assists, right? 2 times now in the span of 9 days against the same team. Okay? The only other person to ever do and ever have a natural hat trick with 3 assists included in a game doing it twice, is Wayne Gretzky. And He did it quicker than Wayne Gretzky did. He did it within a span of 9 days.
Damn. Yeah, that is incredible.
I don't know how you can argue with, that just doesn't happen. So
I didn't see that game live, but when I saw all that stuff on my feed, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, is this stuff a week old? Like, there's no way he did this again.
I thought it was the same thing.
I know. That was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Crazy. All right. Well, thank you for that, John. And then Justin, you want your play of the week?
Yeah, like you mentioned, John, and you too, Jerry. There are definitely a lot of great basketball players that had good weeks this week. But I guess I'm gonna give mine to Donovan Mitchell. He's never been a player of the week in all of our time, all of our episodes. And the Jazz, he deserves it. I need to give it to him. They went 3-1 this week. He averaged 33, 6, and 5.
Big game against.
He's playing
the Nets
unbelievable.
Too.
Yeah, big game against the Nets. Obviously, it was just Harden, but still, that's a big win. Anytime you can beat the Nets now, that's big. And the Jazz are still sitting first in the West, and that is crazy. Nobody was expecting that, and they're being able to sustain it. So that's good for them.
They're still doing solid. It's good to see for them. But yeah. So big news in the NBA this week. Just trades all around. Seemingly all at once. John, did you have something to say?
I had a quick thing to say too before we get into basketball, NCAA, NBA, whichever we start with. Want to say my prayers are out to the Freyer family. Oscar Freyer, Grand Canyon, died in a car accident just after getting knocked out earlier on this month.
Yeah,
just absolutely terrible. Just want to, say that out here just to them because I saw that this morning and that was terrible news. You hate to see that for anybody.
Absolutely.
I saw I think it was Bleacher Report posted it. And I saw 1998. Like originally, I was like, oh, like I thought it said like some.
No, that's he's only 2 years older than me.
Yeah, he's only like I think he's 23 or was it 22? Something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy to see. It was sad to see. But yeah, but nonetheless, so going back to NBA, sorry. So a lot happened in free agency. I kind of want to start with the Celtics, if that's okay.
Yeah, I feel like we should. I mean, I feel like
let's run through what happened with them, Justin. Justin's got them all up.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, all right, I will. So we bring in Evan Fournier, which is nice. He's a bucket. He's a guy that averages 20 and shoots the 3-ball real well. He's a bucket. That's going to be really big for us to take some of the load off of Jalen and Jason's shoulders, which they have way too much of a load on their backs every single night. So it'll help to get some another offensive threat. But we traded away Daniel Tice, our starting center, and got back Mo Wagner and Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett might be the worst center in the league. And
Mo
Wagner, yeah, I know you're a big fan of him. I know. I'm obviously. I mean, he's a Celtic, so I'm gonna embrace him now. He's not really that great, but I mean, I'm hoping. There's rumors that that we gave away Tice to open up cap to save ourselves from the luxury tax, and also to maybe go get somebody in the buyout market. And we just heard this morning that Andre Drummond just got bought out.
And
LaMarcus Aldridge also got bought out yesterday.
Yeah, Drummond was looking with the Knicks. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, he's looking at. I saw there was a list of like 5 or 6 teams, and we are actually on it. So that would be big. So that would be. I want Drummond badly now at this point. Now that we really don't have a center. I mean, we'll be running with mostly Tristan Thompson and Robert Williams, which is good. But I mean, just trading away Tice for no reason seems a little tough. But
if we had Thompson and Drummond out there, that'd be.
Yeah, and Danny might have a plan. You never know. I definitely trust in Danny. But also, we lost our backup point guard, Jeff Teague, and Javonte Green, the high flyer. So, first of all, shout out to Tice and Javonte for their many years of service here in Boston. Respect them. I'm definitely going to miss them. And Teague, too, but he wasn't here too long. But either way,
It's just
what do you guys
business
think
at the end of the day.
Do you think we're clearly winners or clearly losers or sort of on the fence?
I really think it was a pretty balanced. I think it was a pretty balanced thing. Honestly, I think it is leaning a little bit more on the loss side, just because I think right now, if we don't get Drummond, we're gonna lose. Because Tice, I was opening up to Tice. I know he's been struggling a little bit, but still, he has his nights. Fournier, I'm happy with that.
You know what sucks about Tice is that the last shot he'll ever take was that buzzer beater attempt against Milwaukee 2 nights ago, and he missed it. But if he had made it, we would have won. That's crazy. Who knows if that shot goes in? Who knows what happens?
But I do like the Fournier. I think honestly, Fournier and we gave up Teague. I think that's a nice little balance there because I think Teague was just. I think we just need a change of scenery there. Celtics have been struggling, and it's not just him, but you just got to try out new systems. But yeah, I don't really like the whole Tice with those two just completely non-existent human beings who we don't even know how to pronounce their names half the time. And
Mo Wagner. Learn it.
Okay, sorry, Mo Wagner. Sorry, Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner. Jesus Christ. No, but I like the Fournier. The Tice one hurt, I think, more than any of them. But I think, we'll be in the market now. The cap space, at the end of the day, I'm happy if we free up cap space because we do have a lot of money on some players. And we're not. That's what's kind of going to hold us back from getting veteran guys out there on the court that we need. I mean, we got Kemba, we got Tristan. We're paying all these guys big bucks. I mean, we had to do it with Hayward. So at the end of the day, it's just business at the end of the day. He served us well. I just hope that we get Drummond or someone of equal talent, and hopefully we can stop being a team that just goes to the conference championship and then loses and never makes it to the playoffs.
Or at this point, I would take an Eastern Conference final appearance. I feel like there's no way we get there at this point. But I mean, what do you think, Jerry? What do you think about this? Do you think we're better off now, or
So you texted us saying that you think we got worse. I think
at the moment it was an overreaction because it was the minute I found out that we were getting back Mo Wagner and Luke Cornett for Tice, and also losing Teague and Javonte in the deal as well. And Teague actually ended up being part of the Orlando deal, but that came out at a later time. Either way, I felt like I was just we just gave up our starting center for these two bums. But I mean, like I said, I'm wrapping my head around Mo Wagner, Luke Cornett. Not so much, but Mo Wagner, he could be nice. And
again, it's tough to see with Mo Wagner because he hasn't done a ton in the NBA. So it will be interesting to see. Personally, I don't think it hurt us yet, and I don't think we're necessarily better. I think we need to see how Mo Wagner plays. I think Danny's got something up his sleeve. I don't think he comes out of this with just making that trade. I think we're getting Drummond or Aldridge. I don't think he's going to rely on Mo Wagner. We've relied on Tice, so
I don't want Aldridge.
I don't want Aldridge either, and I'm glad you said it.
I don't want
Aldridge. This guy's gonna absolutely just burst into ashes on the court just at some point and just sweep him off the court.
He's just not at all the big man we need right now. Does not rim protect, cannot stretch the floor. Or he sort of can.
We need an aggressive guy like Drummond, and then Tristan Thompson, who's a little more, flexible. That's what we need.
Andre Drummond could get us to the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be so dope.
Drummond seems perfect. Yeah. So back on that. So I love the Fournier actually. I do too. I think Fournier will be a 6-man for us. Probably is what I'm hoping.
Depends on what we're gonna do with Smart. Which one will start? But we'll have to see what happens there at the 2.
Yeah, I see what happens. But considering he's a 6-man, Fournier, I think that is perfect. He's a guy that can come off the bench, put a couple buckets up. If Kemba's struggling, you put him in to get some points. I really like that. I'm really curious to see what they do on the big man front because I definitely agree with Justin on that.
That's where we're going to struggle.
Wagner's not the long-term answer. This is a temporary thing that you were trying to find another big man for. So, yeah, originally I was like, why are you giving up Tice for that? Because Wagner's good, but you don't know like what he is.
Yeah.
But if we end up getting Drummond out of this whole shenanigan, definitely worth it. I actually think that shifts a lot more. Like if we add Drummond, I think that shifts the season. That's why.
Because then all of a sudden we got Kemba, Fournier, Brown, Tatum, Drummond with Smart coming off the bench. That team is dope. That team's dirty. That team is good. Really good.
And that team is a solid. What I've been asking for, a solid 7 that you just run with. And I think we get Drummond and we solidify that. We can play Wagner.
And that's the problem that we've had is we haven't had guys that can back up these other positions.
And I think Danny's recognizing that. I think he's like, look, we have all these guys and we just keep rotating them in and out and we're not.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I just think like Tristan Thompson, Daniel, I feel like you just got to get a big man out there who's literally just going to smack that ball.
Even a solid 8.
Drummond's that type of guy. But the thing is that Tice and Tristan Thompson to me are just like, if we're going to pay them both the big bucks, we need to get rid of one of them, free up the space so that we can get a guy like Drummond. We can get a guy like, whoever's on the market, Yeah,
truthfully, getting a guy like Drummond I think changes it a lot too, just because I think it shifts the attention away from. I think that's the problem Tatum and Brown are having is that when Tice is out on the floor, you're not really worried about Tice because Tice is only 6'8". He's not going to do much. Like he can't really. He stretches.
He's not a threat defensively in the paint, really.
Yeah. So
he's not a shot blocker.
A lot of the attention goes on Tatum and Brown. Whereas if you bring in a 6'11" guy and a presence like Drummond, and you can even put not Tristan Thompson in the starting lineup, but
it just makes it easier on defense for those two guys. They don't have to transition to the offensive game as quickly. You have Drummond backing them up.
That's why I was a little mad at first at the Fournier thing because I was like, we don't need any more scorers. We have plenty of scorers on this team. They can score the ball. The defense is the problem. Getting stops is our problem. So once we figure that out, I think it changes our season. But Justin, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with both you guys. I think Fournier. He's a bucket, and at the end of the day, I do think that a big problem that we had is depth, and like you said, a solid 7, solid 8 guys. Our bench rotation every single night looks different. It's just Brad saying whatever rookie or sophomore he wants to have their turn that night. And we need a 6-man, a 7th-man, an 8th-man, and I think we're just helping that. We're getting closer to that point. And Fournier to be a guy that can take load off of Jalen and Jason. If Jalen and Jason don't drop 25, we can't win right now. But to bring him in, another 20-point per game scorer, we'll have Kemba there. Hopefully he can. Look, when we were playing Milwaukee the other night, in the second half, Kemba had a hop I hadn't seen in him all year. He looked good. He looked good. He looked energized. And in that burst, I could tell, this is the point guard we gave a max contract to. If he can be like this come playoff time, we're not going to be an easy team to knock out. But we do have a good team. But
I was just going to say, that is a good point, though. Let's just be honest. Kemba's aging, right? That guy's not going to be here very much longer. He's going to.
The problem is his knees are aging before he is.
That's true. But here's the thing too. We got We got Jalen. We got Jason. You're right. Those guys got to get 25 points each per game. Actually, frankly, they got to get higher than that if they're going to want to, as Kemba's moving out of this league, when we got to start, focusing mainly on those two in that court. But they got to get the 25 a night. Fournier's going to hopefully take the load off. We got Smart, strong on defense. He's even providing an offensive game too. And in the, at least, with the way he's been playing over the years now, fixing his offensive game. So I like how we're balancing stuff out, but we definitely need to figure out the system that's going to work, because Kemba's not going to be able to play all the minutes that he's going to usually be able to play. But I like when he gets in his bursts. Like when he's in his bursts and he gets his time, like that's a perfect example with that Milwaukee game. Yeah. Short bursts he gives are so beneficial for the team. And it's actually a huge boost because the younger guys look at that and they go, damn, this guy can still do it. Why the fuck can't I get up there and do that shit? That's just the kind of motivation we need on that court.
They need to be better leaders. Our top guys is great. They're all great scorers, but they need to lead through action. They need to show people. They need to have people follow them on what they're doing on the court and off the court. And they're not the playmaking is terrible. The ball movement's terrible, and our fourth quarter defense is terrible. Those are all signs of lack of chemistry. And we need to get a group playing together that's going to learn to play with each other and have the chemistry between them. Yeah. And hopefully this unit will be that, because I'm sure we'll be seeing small ball Tatum running small ball 5 to close out at the end of games. We'll definitely have Fournier and Smart out there together. So
I totally
at least until we bring in
a
better big, but these guys need to learn to play together. And I have high hopes. That's a good 5 right there. When you put them all in there together. So
Jerry,
I don't know.
I got a quick thing for if we're transitioning out of Celtics. I got a perfect transition here. So talking about 6 man in now, well, we got our solid 7, but talking about 6 men, what is up with the whole Lou Williams situation here?
Oh yeah,
I just bring that one up because I can tell you right now, I got a quote from him right now. I'll read it to you. He said he was going to retire. He says, he thought about retiring the other day. He says, because you give so much to an organization and you wake up and boom, there it is. All that you had left plenty in the tank. You have all this privilege and you're ready to continue that career, but now you got to just continue it in the backyard. Basically saying that he's got to continue his career now without the team that he wanted to win a shit with. I mean, this guy was 6th man of the year. How many times? And he's trying to get on that court. He's such a vital player too. Like he's like Smart. They don't get the minutes that they deserve because they got such a strong team. But when he goes out there, he shows why he's still on that team and he's valued. And again, it's the trade deadline. I understand, it's business at the end of the day. I just, it sucks for him. I've always been a fan of him and I've always appreciated the way he plays the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Clippers think they upgraded. I'm curious. What do you guys think? Who do you think won this deal here? It was Rondo for Lou Williams and a pair of 2nd-round picks.
I'll tell you right now, I don't think they upgraded. That
much more value.
Rondo is literally on a crutch right now. This kid, I'm surprised he hasn't retired yet. I mean, he was in the 08 team with the Celtics.
So he's not consistently good in the regular season, but that playoff run he had.
Playoff Rondo is what I think they're looking for. I think they're
right.
Yeah, I get that, and I know that the Clippers do well in the regular season, and they end up struggling in the in the playoffs. But dude, I think it's a tough decision here. I understand why, but I'll tell you right now, I see what they're doing. I understand what you're saying. If Rondo is there for like a year, 2, however long that is, and they don't make it, against the Lake, they don't do something with it, you've screwed yourselves, because he's going to go pretty soon. His value is going to go straight to the floor because you're not going to get very much back for him. And you can just basically just tell yourself, kiss Lou Williams goodbye. He's probably going to get a starting position somewhere else anyways. He's probably going to start on that floor, and he's probably going to try and lead that team because he's probably going to try to. If I'm Lou Williams, I'm proving to the Clippers why I was the best 6th man, and now I'm going to be the best guy on that starting 5 if I get that.
Yeah, I think Lou Williams got to recognize that at the end of the day, it is a business.
It is, but that just still sucks, dude.
It does, and I'm not, discounting that. But I think what players got to realize, the NBA is becoming a lot more of like a name brand league than it is like an actual. Here's what I mean by this. So,
yeah, elaborate for me.
GMs like big names. Playoff Rondo, LeBron James, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. A lot of the guys that would have been good, let's say they're playing 20, 30 years old earlier, would have been good and probably well known, just even by like being a middle tier name. Lou Williams is a middle tier name. Like you hear Lou Williams, you're like, good player, not great, Good player though. Like you want to have him on your team. A lot of these guys, Evan Fournier.
So you're going to talk about their career, like Rondo being the playoff Rondo he is. You're saying that his name puts
what
him
I'm
up
saying
there.
what I'm saying is, I think this deal is worth it in perspective of playoff Rondo. Definitely not regular season Rondo. Regular season Rondo is not anything to write home about, but definitely from playoff Rondo, this is a deal that's worth trading for. I think this league is becoming consistently, and we've seen it, it's more of the name than it actually is establishing. That's Boston's problem right now. We have the names. We just have no chemistry. That's why we're not winning. And
you can bring in anyone you want, you know.
Bring in anyone you want, but at the end of the day, if it's not clicking, like it's not going to work. That's why kind of the Nets are working right now. Even though they have a lot of those big names, they wouldn't, let's be real, in my opinion at least, they wouldn't be working without like their bench producing all of a sudden. So I think the NBA is becoming a lot more of we need these big names, and I'm not discounting that at all. But at the same time, like you're going to need these other kind of pieces to win games. And I think that's what this deal ended up happening is like Clippers are like, we want to make a move in the playoffs. Hasn't been working in the past. So let's just get a guy that's historically been good in the playoffs and trade him for
there.
Six-man Lou Williams, which just sucks. I like Lou Williams. I think he's a good player, but it's just kind of like the league.
And I do see your point there, and that I like completely verifiable. I completely agree with you on that. I get that. It's just, I'm not about the name. I'm not about the name.
I'm not either, and it's not going to win games. But
that's exactly what I think the Buccaneers did this season too. Oh, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady. Bring all these guys in. That's exactly what the Buccaneers did too. And I'm afraid for the NFL because it's looking like that. I'm not going to transfer into the NFL right now, but I'm just scared that name brand is becoming the thing because talent like Lou Williams is just talent that you won't always see coming off a bench. Talent like Marcus Smart is not always talent you're going to see coming off the bench.
Underrated.
And I would hate for the Celtics to just say one day, and I don't think they would, because I trust Danny Ainge with my life and everything that is. But I just would hate to see someone just go, oh yeah, Marcus Smart, we should totally give him away for a nice piece, like
Well, they
God
are.
knows what.
He is on the table, but
I know, but I'd be pissed off at that because
here's the biggest problem with that, and I don't mean to backtrack to the Celtics, but just real quick is that Fournier and Smart are both unrestricted free agents after this year. So we brought in Fournier here for basically what could be a 1-year rental. So at the end of the year in the offseason, we're gonna have to make a decision, one or the other. We're not gonna have enough to pay them both. And obviously, I know Fournier is great, but it needs to be Smart. It needs to be, and I'm worried it's not going to be, and that would be a really massive loss. But
and the reason
that's another thing about Fournier is like, it could be a 1-year rentle. I mean, it's going to be great to have him here.
Unless he wants to take like a pay cut, unless he wants to take a big, massive pay cut and just get paid nothing.
Right.
He won't, because he's still got talent. And I hate to say that, but it's just Marcus Smart's been through the system. Marcus Smart works well with every guy that we have on that court, and he knows, and he's a defensive-minded player too. I mean, he's made that defensive team every single year almost, or at least been counted for some of those positions. And I just don't know the level of play that Fournier is going to get with our team. Again, it's still going to be like we still have a lot of games left, but also that rental, I don't know how long that's going to last, and I just don't know if he's going to. And I know that Danny Ainge, at the end of the day, is not going to just look at the numbers. He's going to look at the leadership, the locker room mentality, the on-court chemistry. He's going to look at much more, I hope.
Yeah,
because obviously I think Fournier could probably put up better numbers than Marcus Smart, but that doesn't mean he's better for the position.
Well, yeah, he will, no doubt. He will put up better numbers, but I definitely think that Brad knows that, understands that. I have hope that it'll be Smart and he'll make the right decision, but we'll have to see. As far as the Hawks Clippers trade goes, I definitely agree with you both. I think Lou Williams, definitely an underrated guy, but at the same time, it didn't work for them last year. I do think they're going to miss down the stretch when you just need a bucket. He's a guy that can go get you one, and they're going to miss that in Rondo for sure. But the way Rondo impacted winning in the playoffs, even as recent as last playoff runs, literally the last playoff. So I think that's a good. I mean, I feel like it's fairly even, but definitely an interesting one. Another fairly even and interesting one that I definitely want to talk about before we go into the big time winners of the deadline. But the Raptors traded Gary Trent. I mean, the Raptors traded for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood and gave up Norman Powell, and meaning that so that Norman Powell would be the most valued player in that exchange because it was Gary Trent and Rodney Hood for just him. And I think Gary Trent is the best of the bunch. I don't really know what the Blazers thinking they're getting in Norman Powell that they weren't getting from Gary Trent. He already plays at the 3. Like Norman Powell is a little bit bigger. Maybe they're thinking they could play more at small forward. They already run Dame, CJ, and Gary Trent together on the floor all the time. So that's not a thing that they weren't able to do with Gary Trent. And Rodney Hood is also a bucket. Like he's been very impactful for them this year to impact winning. So I don't really.
I am surprised that they gave 2 of them up.
Powell.
I would have understood if they gave. Okay. I'm going to say this. Still going to be a little off though with this because I still don't entirely agree with it. But I would have understood more if they just gave Hood for Powell than just Hood and Trent for Powell. Because here's the thing.
Well, I feel like they could have got it done without Trent as well. I mean, Norman Powell is good, and I don't mean to disrespect him. I just feel like Gary Trent did everything that Blazers team possibly needed from him. Yeah. Everything they asked him, he did it. And oh man, to give him up like that.
When I saw that deal, I didn't really understand it. I just
the hour just got hoppier at IHOP with a $5 menu.
Yeah. You going to IHOP or something? You want to tell us something? I get it if you want to go, Jerry. Like Justin and I can run this show. You know?
No, sorry. I was trying to look at the details of that trade. You know how they pop up? They're like,
yeah.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. I didn't really get the whole deal. I don't really know if Norman Powell's good. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect Norman Powell, but for those 2 guys, especially Gary Trent, the deal was mainly Gary Trent for Norman Powell. I mean, Ronnie add on. But I agree with you, Justin. I didn't really understand that deal. And I think Gary Trent, I don't know what they're looking for in Norman Powell that Gary Trent wasn't giving them, if that makes any sense. But John, what are your thoughts?
I just think Justin brings up a good point. When you try everything for that team and then you're going to trade around for a guy who's, you could argue he's a little less than what that guy's going to potentially bring, but he's obviously got his pros. You're really, I think, looking for the nitpicky stuff. You're really looking for like, oh, he's a little taller. Maybe that's going to help it out. But, just because, at the end of the day, I think a 1-for-1, putting one of them in that trade would have been better than just tossing in 2 of them. I just think that was a little, obviously we know which one's going to win in this case. I think we all agree on that. I think the Blazers are definitely going to lose out on this one. It's going to hurt them in the end. And I feel bad because I would have loved to see Lillard run it back with the team that they had because the Blazers aren't terrible. They are one of those hardworking teams who just sometimes struggle on that court.
Having a great season.
And they are having a good season.
And Trent's young. Like I think,
and he is young. Yeah. And I just I don't know.
Like Powell's not exactly old, but I mean, Trent's young. Like he's still got like a good, like in his prime, like 6 or 7 years, and Powell's only got like I think he's late 20s. So like doesn't have a lot.
29, I think maybe.
I think he's 27, but he doesn't have a lot of years left, and like in his prime at least. So I just don't really understand that whole deal.
I'm just surprised with the whole just in general. I'm sure Justin's going to get into this.
Justin, what are your thoughts? Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think the one thing, as much as I think they're going to hurt because of the loss of Gary Trent, the one thing Damian Lillard can do and has proven for years and years and years is no matter the rotating door of wing players to come up play alongside him and CJ, they're getting to the playoffs and maybe winning a round. So you can't. I think that you're not going to be able to visibly tell in like a losing streak or something in a number of losses when Norman Powell came in and that it hurt them. Because they're going to keep winning games at the same rate, probably. I mean, Norman Powell brings very similar things. He's probably a better defender. He is a better defender. So I think they're going to get it done, and Norman Powell is going to fit right in there. And like the benefits they are getting is that he can just play strictly small forward, so you don't have to keep Dame or CJ off the floor to have him on there really ever. And the 3 of them, I think, will play nice together. I do think losing Gary Trent for a guy that just did everything for you, and like you said, is significantly younger. It's not something you want to do, but I don't really know why they felt like they had to do it, but they're not going to hurt from it, I don't think. I think it was pretty even on both sides, but I do think that the Raptors won it, picking up Trent.
I do think some of the moves were obviously smart. I'm just surprised that I feel like the Raptors and the Magic gave up a lot of their players.
Well, so we can transition into the Magic because they blew everything up. So finally,
they completely
how many
literally
straight years have we been saying the Magic always sneak that 8 seed, sometimes 9, sometimes maybe they'll grab a 7, but they've just been the definition of mediocrity, the definition of average, if not even a little below that.
But they get rid of their squeaking in. They get rid of everybody.
Fournier. I think this is about time, though. It's about time. They have like a whole backup core sort of that never gets to play. Like Jonathan Isaac's always injured, but the young pieces that they have are Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, Chuma Okeke, Mo Bamba. These are guys that don't even get rotational minutes right now because of this average team that best you're an 8 seed with. They just cleared the whole deck and are going to bring up let all their young guys play. They also have Cole Anthony. They brought in R.J. Hampton. So let me run through what the Orlando Magic picked up, because I actually think they're huge winners at this deadline. So they get Wendell Carter, a young center that badly needed a change of scenery from Chicago. I think Wendell Carter could definitely rejuvenate his career down there in Orlando.
I mean,
plus now you have Carter and Bamba, and one of these guys will blossom. They just needed an opportunity, and now they'll both have it. They brought in R.J. Hampton, like I said, who coming out of high school. Think of a team with Cole Anthony and R.J. Hampton on it. Back when they were playing high school, they were like they were the top names in the country. They were probably 1 and 2. Yeah. So that's cool. And they bring Gary Harris, Otto Porter, and the biggest thing is that they got 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. That's just a good haul for a rebuilding team that was at best an 8 seed. They just got rid of it all and bring back that haul. That's a really good job.
I mean, you had a lot to work with, the thing on your team with trade deadline, like what you could give away value-wise. And I think other teams saw the value in some of those players. I think the Magic said probably at the end of the day, hey, look, we are teetering on the edge of barely making the playoffs. And we are a team that has such a young core that honestly could snag a 5 seed at the very least, even higher if we played the best basketball we could each season with all these young guys. I mean, you have Fultz, you have Anthony, you have Aaron Gordon, you got Mo Bamba. Like not anymore. Actually, Aaron Gordon's actually, that's another thing. We'll
get into
I forgot about that one. We can get into that one, but I forgot about that one. But I'm just thinking, like, even without Aaron Gordon, you still have such a young core that they just want a whole rebuild now. And I think that's the team that they're trying to strive for. And honestly, they get a bunch of picks now. They're looking like a Celtics team who's just going to snag a bunch of big name players in some later drafts. I think, I'm happy for them. I think they won out on it. That's exactly what they needed. Because honestly, if it's not working for you and you're still teetering at an 8 seed or, just on the edge of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for some identity. They didn't really know what they were. Like, I mean, they had good guys, but they didn't really, it wasn't like anything that was going to make a push, but they weren't like necessarily the worst team in the league. I think they're just looking for just a completely new start. No pressure from these young guys. They don't need to do anything right away. They just can play ball. And like Justin said, like Cole Anthony and RJ Hampton, like a couple of years ago, that would have been like, if we heard they were on the same NBA team, we would be like, wow, that's going to be friggin' insane. And it still could be. But they need, kind of the freedom to do that. And now the Magic are giving them that freedom. I don't really know why you need to give away Aaron Gordon necessarily. I thought he was still. I think
the clog of Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac, whenever Isaac was actually healthy, Jonathan Isaac is a power forward, and they were trying to get him to play small forward. And now Aaron Gordon couldn't really play the 3 or the 5. They were both sort of like, you can't play him at small forward or center. They're just like kind of true power forwards, and they were forced to be on the same team. And I think that letting Aaron Gordon go is going to let Jonathan Isaac blossom, which is more important for the Magic at this point, is to let Isaac become Isaac. Yeah, and you don't need to worry about Gordon. We've seen the best kind of thing that Gordon can be.
You have to make the tough decision. I think they did too.
That makes sense.
You have to make that tough decision, though. You got to pick between 2 guys.
And I think Wendell Carter, this guy was a top 5 pick just 2 years ago. He could be something else with a change of scenery. I think not only did you get the whole haul of picks and RJ Hampton, like a lottery or just outside the lottery young guy, you also bring in a recent top 5 pick that is a big, like he's an actual big piece that you can actually try to build around and hope that he develops into what he was picked into top 5 for, because we haven't seen that from him. And they did get a big name young guy, and then the other young guys that aren't quite as big names, plus all the picks. They did a great job with their rebuild here, and it was about time.
Yeah, they're just looking for a rebuild. I think they had like a bunch of like decent guys, but it wasn't going to amount to anything. And I think that kind of cleaning their slate was good.
Yeah, if we want to get into the other side of that, the Chicago Bulls, I also feel like are huge winners at the deadline. Bringing in, so for the longest time, we just were talking about Wendell Carter and how he needed to change the scenery. He badly did, because he was not playing well in Chicago at all. And their center rotation of Wendell Carter with Luke Cornett and like Felicio coming out, and they did have Daniel Gafford too, who they traded. It was just a bad center rotation there at Chicago, and they just brought in Nikola Vucevic, an all-star center, to come play the starting role, and Daniel Tice to back him up. Their center rotation just overnight got so much better, one of the better ones in the entire league, to be honest, as far as the rotation at the 5. So great job there. They bring in Troy Brown Jr. to be maybe a young guy that could develop at the wing. They did lose Chandler Hutchinson, so just kind of swap those two guys. And Al-Farouq Aminu, who can play some wing defense, which on a team with Zach LaVine and Vucevic as your main two guys, and Kobe White at point guard, not much defense being played, so to bring in Aminu is good. But definitely big winners there, I think. What do you guys think about these moves?
I think they won out on that. I mean, again, you bring up a good point. I mean, I forgot even Vucevic went there. I mean, and you get Tice now too. You really won out on those trades. I mean, at the end of the day, individually looking at the trades, you could argue otherwise, but I still think they did either way. I mean, you got two guys now. You got two centers. You got two centers who are way better than the core that you had before. I mean, again, Wendell Carter, not to say, but that's the thing. At the end of the day, Wendell Carter, top 5 pick. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. Just doesn't fit the system. Isn't working well. Isn't playing the basketball that he wants to play. Getting a change of scenery. Daniel Tice, same situation. We need to free up cap space. He'll get a new look. And I love Zach LaVine. I think that guy finally making an all-star appearance and having a season that he's having. I love to have him get some guys built around him, because that Bulls team should be much better. And they need to be much better, because Zach LaVine can't keep carrying that team.
Yeah, I think it was good moves that they made. Again, you're getting guys that, are pretty established in terms of, what you're getting out of them. And it'll just be nice to see, a new change. I think a lot of these teams were, including us, just had these guys playing consistently across a bunch of seasons, and nothing's really happening. Where are we at? And now that teams are making moves, they're trying to, compete. So I'm glad to see all these moves happening.
Yeah, I'm happy that Zach LaVine's finally going to have an all-star to run alongside with him, because he's for his entire career has never had an all-star next to him. And that's huge that he finally will get to have one. So I'm happy for him. Hopefully they can build something nice there in Chicago. They've got a lot of nice young pieces there. They got a lot of stuff going for them.
Definitely.
Another big winner of the deadline, I would say, is the Miami Heat, bringing in Victor Oladipo and Nemanja Bjelica to come off the bench and shoot threes. But Victor Oladipo, they brought him in without having to lose out on Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero, which is huge. They're going to be dirty now, actually, Loki, when you think about it, with Dragic and Hero and Robinson and Victor Oladipo and then Jimmy Butler, and then you still have Bam, obviously. That team is just really good. But what do you guys think about that?
I was hoping Depot would work things out in Houston, so it's a little disappointing to see that. But I am excited to see that Miami team. That is going to be a team to be reckoned with. It was already last season. And now just even more, I think that's going to be a dangerous team, especially in the playoffs. Playoff Jimmy just rallies teams like no one else. And it'll be exciting to see him rally this group of guys again. So I'm excited for it. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm completely excited for it too. I think it was a surprise. Depot no longer, again, that's the whole thing. We had the Harden Depot and all that discussion way back when with the whole, the big blockbuster trades back then. And now it just seems like it's going back and forth now. I feel like all these guys are moving around, but I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm not surprised about Depot, and I guess I'm not disappointed either. The Rockets suck right now, but
they've been playing terrible.
They've been playing terrible, so I guess I'm not shocked or surprised. But it was John Wall and Depot. Would have liked to make it work out, but I get why it did.
It just didn't. I think it also has to do with the Rockets themselves. That's just not the team that I would love to see Wall and Depot work well together with. I would love to see it run somewhere else. I'm so curious what
happens with John Wall, because obviously the timeline of the Rockets at this point is nowhere near what John Wall's timeline is. So I wonder I'm curious to see what happens with him. Obviously he didn't get traded, so he wasn't even in rumors or anything. So he'll be there next year, at least for the start of it. But I don't know what happens with him. I hope he goes somewhere where he can actually be a starting point guard on a contending team, but I don't know what team that would be. But I would love to see some good years of John Wall playing. He's being wasted right now in Houston. I'm sure he doesn't have much time left in him. But
I think his best bet going forward is to try to find a team that already has established everything. They don't need a great guard, but they need a guard. and that will be his time to shine. A team where like you have LeBron and AD and you need a point guard, you don't really like need a great one.
Right.
You don't need like a Kyrie, but you
need a guy.
But you need a guy, and
especially now that you got LeBron and AD, someone like that. Yeah.
So I think a team like that will be good for him in the future, and I'll bet he's going to be looking for that in the future. I think he just needs to establish that he still can play, and he has. So I mean,
definitely.
I agree with that.
Do we want to move, Justin? We have any more moves?
There's a couple. What do you just another big one that we haven't hit on yet is Aaron Gordon to Denver. Definitely. Yeah. I definitely think that's extremely interesting of Denver to go and bring him in. I feel like that team is going to be really nice now. I like the way he just slides into that lineup. They'll have, I don't know if they'll start Monty Morris. He's been an unbelievable sixth man, but they'll have Murray and somebody in the backcourt. They just gave up RJ Hampton too. I don't know who exactly will start alongside Murray yet, but then they'll have Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Jokic. That's kind of a dirty front court. That is nice. I like the way that sounds. And I feel like just from the way that they play, I feel like they'll be able to make it work with each other too. I feel like they'll play well together.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. You mentioned a great point where he kind of just like, you wouldn't think he would fit in there, but he kind of just slides into a perfect spot. And honestly, it'll be exciting to see them play. I think, I'm going to be excited to see that team and how they play. John, do you have any?
I mean, you have an I mean, again, that's your body disagrees, but you got an MVP Jokic right now. Just the Denver Nuggets have just been that team performing each year. And, again, we don't know what they're going to do, but, I think Justin's got a great point with sliding right in there. And I think that lineup just, again, it's one of those things where it doesn't overdo you, but it just kind of solidifies that one position where you're just like, you're not worried now. You don't feel like you got any loose ends, and you feel like your team, whether they go out there and play their best game, even if they lose, like, you just got to work on some chemistry. There's nothing much you can do. You don't want to change anything up with that team, at least right now.
And I think that the change they just made is actually a great one. And I think at this point, like you said, now you can settle in and hope for a good playoff run and be happy with what you have. But that was a good job. I think that we all know that they're good and they can steal a series or two or maybe even three from you if you're going to let them. If you're going to let them play the way that they like to play, they can be really, really dangerous in the playoffs. But you don't look at them and look at the West and look at the entire NBA and think Denver's a real threat as a contender. I mean, they are. You probably would consider them a contender, but you're not thinking of them as like a big threat that you have to knock off. Yeah. But bringing in a guy like Aaron Gordon to be alongside there, and you'll still have Paul Millsap there. So maybe I'm sure they'll start Aaron Gordon, but if they don't, if they still run with Millsap starting, that's fine too. Either way, they have a nice squad there, and this helps them be more of a threat, I feel like. Because Gary Harris, they had seen enough of Gary Harris was very average for a number of years there in Denver. And I think they'd seen enough of him. It's a refreshing change there in the backcourt from Murray and Harris.
How many Garys have gotten traded this week? Jesus fucking good. Gary Trent, Gary Harris.
All of them. Every Gary in the league got traded on the deadline day. Literally.
Jerry, what were you gonna say?
I think honestly, I think Paul Millsap might like the decrease in minutes. I mean, I don't know if anyone would like to have a decrease in minutes, but I think it's a much more, because he's a good player. We all know that. And I think it could be a much more substantial role for him where you get a lot out of him in a short period of time. Aaron Gordon can play the majority of the minutes. I think that could work well. And they're definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think he could excel in a smaller role.
Yeah. I think when you give him too many minutes, he does play well. But I don't know. It doesn't always work out. So I think that'll be a better role for him. But
there was always those two holes that felt a little stale in the Denver starting five with Gary Harris and Paul Millsap, and they'll sort of fix that both. So they'll fix it both. Yeah. So I definitely think that's a nice, refreshing change up. And then the last thing is JJ Redick to Dallas. I think the biggest thing about the Mavericks this year, when they've had times of struggling, but they've been winning a lot right now, actually. But earlier on in the year, obviously they got off to a terrible start. When they've been struggling, the biggest thing is you notice how much they missed Seth Curry from last year because they traded him for Josh Richardson. And there's a pretty even trade. Those guys they both bring a lot to they put up very similar stats, but in different ways. Richardson obviously being a better defender and Curry just a sniper. But now they basically get to have them both. In fact, maybe even better because they just brought in JJ Redick, who's
I think that
the goat at those off balance threes and stuff. So bringing in JJ, that's so nice for that Dallas team. And all of a sudden, I feel like that's the exact piece they needed, and they're going to be a team that could definitely win a series in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see Luka make it back there and try and run it back, And
the way Luka play makes, JJ will be getting a number of open looks per game.
Oh,
you can just
100%.
bet on that. You can
100%.
bet on that. So, yeah, that's very nice for them.
Well, that's a lot of NBA news, but
yeah,
we
ton of stuff.
Want to run over quick to NCAA or?
Yeah, we're quick to. What time did we start? Like 4:10?
Yeah, I didn't start it on time, so I'm like 8-10 minutes behind on this. So, and we're at 37 minutes right now, so we probably got at least 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
All right, 10 minutes. All right, let's do a quick NCAA, and then I got a little bit on NHL, and we'll wrap it up.
All right, so there were a lot of upsets. I think the most. I think
that's really. Can I just say that's what my what the fuck moment is? Can I just say
it's a record for March Madness? This is the year with the most upsets.
What the fuck? Like, and my primary one is heart goes out to Justin. I was on the phone with him and Jerry watching the game. OSU. What the fuck? Just gonna say it. Just gonna say it there. Like, you can't win games if you don't play good basketball. Period. Like, and also I'm gonna toss it out to. Jesus Christ. Also, Oregon and Iowa, just Luke Garza, God. I mean, Oregon had great, stellar defensive game. I'm not going to shit on Oregon. They had a really good game, but just Iowa just
play in the first round. Sorry.
But Iowa just completely lacked up for me on that. Even Luke Garza a little bit. He had a good game. He had a good game. But he started off with like literally 15 in the first half and then 6 in the second half. Like he just lagged down in the second half. And also not just but Iowa just wasn't making the rebounds. Same thing with OSU. These teams are just missing buckets, like easy layups and rebounds and.
Well, I think my biggest thing was that we saw it happen with Zion and that Duke team a few years ago. Is that what we were expecting of Cade Cunningham? Probably it was not realistic. Like he's still a young guy. He's not in the NBA yet. He's not like and I really thought he was going to have one of those Carmelo Anthony runs type runs in March Madness here and make a deep run in this tournament. But he didn't really play exactly as well. I know. I'm sure he's very upset with himself for how he played, but it's not going to affect anything. He'll be the number 1 pick, and he's going to have an unbelievable NBA career. But definitely tough for Oklahoma State.
I was honestly surprised by how bad Kansas got beat.
Yeah,
85-51. Sure. It was a little closer earlier on. Just surprised how that finished.
Yeah,
but
I mean, so favorite upset, something like that I like to see, and this is biased, but I like Loyola Chicago because I know it's biased because Cameron Carter was my player of the week, but
yeah, hard not to like that team.
Hard to not like that team, honestly, because I looked at them and I was like, all right, there's no way they do it again. An 8 seed, that's good. That's good. I think I had them winning in the first round, but I was like, do they get that? Do they beat Illinois? I don't know. Illinois is a pretty solid team, and they did it again. And now they're looking like they might actually make do they make the Final Four? Or was it Elite 8?
It was Final Four.
It was Final Four, actually.
Right. Yeah. All right, so it looks like they might make another Final Four.
That's so crazy when you think about that.
Who did they play again?
I don't remember who ended up knocking them out. I know they had wins against Miami. Did they play 4-2? I know I remember the one against Miami because they won at the buzzer. But either way, that was a crazy run. And they're doing it again.
So that was my favorite upset to see. I really would like to see them actually make like a national championship run. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but it'll be interesting to see. But boys, what are your favorite upset? If you have one,
I'll take it right away, and I'll just say,
Go ahead.
Okay, it won't be my favorite. I think the shocking one was the Oregon State, Oklahoma State one. I think my favorite, though, obviously, I'm not going to take yours, Jerry. Loyola was a great one, but I honestly, the Oral Roberts one still, like, they're just seeming like a Loyola Chicago right now. I'm honestly, and I'm going to say it right now, and I mean, we can make a couple predictions. I mean, there's not that many. We can just say them around the table in a second quick, but I'm going to start off right now, and I'm just going to say I think Oral Roberts is completely annihilating Arkansas. I don't see anything crazy with Arkansas, even at a 3 seed.
Whoa.
So here's the thing.
With the momentum and motivation and whatever they got fueled in them,
What I'm mad about before is when I saw the Ohio State game turned on. When I turned on the Ohio State game, the first stat that came up was one guy on Oral Roberts. Forget his name, so pardon me for that. I'll look him up after. And I believe
he's like third in D1 for scoring. I think he's had like one of the guys to have like 30 plus in it. And I'm like, whenever there's a score like that, usually it's because either they're playing in a shitty division or they're actually a legit scorer. And he's a legit scorer. I'll look up his name. But so that's kind of scary, and something I wish I looked more at, but I don't know. Justin, what was your favorite upset of the weekend?
I would and we were just talking about it, but I'm gonna go with Oregon State. And it's not just because they knocked off Cade. I mean, that's a lot to do with it. But it's just because of the run they've gone on in general. They had no business being in March Madness at all. They were not in position in the Pac-12 to make it if they didn't win the tournament. And they've won 5 straight games. They haven't lost in weeks. And won the Pac-12 tournament, got a spot in March Madness as a 12 seed, and has been upsetting teams since then. I mean, they're definitely rolling. And they're not going to be easy to beat just because when you get a group, when you catch a group of guys like that in a college tournament like this, that just play so well together and they go into every single night, no matter what the seeding difference is, thinking we're the better team, we're going to win this game. They're just something about the attitude they have right now is scary. They're rolling.
Yeah, that's a lot of teams right now. Just like they feel like they got really nothing to lose. So I mean, you might as well just play your heart out, and that's the scary thing. And the bigger teams are just losing. So
yeah,
honestly, I'm scared. Out of every year that I've done like brackets and watched the tournament, I'm not scared. Scared's kind of like an overreaction. The Final Four this year could be very, very interesting.
Let's just run around real quick and just talk about these games. I got to hear your boys' input. I just got to hear it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So, all right, I'll start off real quick. Syracuse, Houston. Jerry, you start us off.
I'm not surprised, actually. I'm mad I didn't pick that upset, actually, in the beginning. Just because Syracuse plays a type of and Justin, I know we're over, so we'll just keep going, and then
no problem at all. Yeah,
but Syracuse just plays a style of ball that's just prime for the tournament. They play a zone defense.
You think they can upset a 2 seed?
Hell yeah, I think they could make it to the Final Four.
Because I think Syracuse.
Buddy Boeheim is a real threat. That guy can score like no other. You look at that team, you're like, how the hell are they beating other teams? And it's 2 things. Buddy Boeheim, and it's their zone D. No one can break that zone D. It's because they're very good at it. They shift towards the ball. They don't let usually you can find the post guy in the center and then kick out, but they're very quick with their transitions. They're very well at communicating, and I'm not surprised that they're here right now. I wouldn't be shocked if they're in the Final Four.
Honestly, I'm having them go on. That's
tournament win is a lot.
I don't think tournament win, but I think Final Four.
But Final Four is definitely not out of the picture. But
I think Houston would be the team to like. It seems like this is an open door situation here where they've got 2 seed Houston. I get they're 2 seed, but they have not been playing as well as they'd like to be. And they in that game
they almost lost to Rutgers.
They had to finish on like a 14-4 run to beat them by 3. Like they were down big with short amount of time left and had a miracle happen, but. It does seem like the door is open, and like you said, Syracuse is definitely rolling. You go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be Syracuse. I think we just seen the way that they've been playing is much better than what Houston has been playing against teams that are actually really, really lower than them, and Syracuse has been beating teams that are higher than them, and that's just the type of obviously Houston's going to beat the 15 seed Cleveland. At least you predict that. They did. They annihilated them. And then they go against Rutgers, who's the 10 seed, and they barely make it out. Just barely. They were down some of that game. And I think moving on now, Oregon State, Loyola, I know what Jerry's going to say.
This is definitely a game that
I know what Jerry's going to say. I want to say Loyola, but honestly, the way Oregon State played, how can you say they're not going to put
both of these teams have that passion, that camaraderie with each other that I was just talking about. These are these are the 2 that are like, the upset, the ones you think could make a big upset, like a deeper run here. Now that we're into the Sweet 16, it's going to be a hell of a game. Someone has to lose, and I don't know which one's going to get.
Here's the thing: what I will say about Oregon State after watching that Oklahoma State game, they do not let up points, or just they don't let a lot of opportunities for you to get ahead.
They have strong defense.
They're going to have to beat them. Like if you win that game, it's because you won that game. They didn't lose that game; you just won it.
That's a great way to put it.
They make their free throws, they play defense, and they play a good brand of basketball. There's no doubt about that. And so
The and ones, oh my God.
I think for Loyola, they're going to have to recognize that, if you foul them, you're going to pay. Just assume it's 2 because they're always going to make it. I think their free throw percentage that game was crazy.
They had so many and ones too.
Absolutely.
So many and ones.
So I think Loyola advances, but that honestly
it's not an easy game. It's not
could
an
be
easy
the hardest
game.
game on their schedule.
Yeah.
4.
That one and 6 seed USC versus 7 seed Oregon. The Evan and Isaiah Mobley boys coming into to Oregon, who have not lost in a while either, and they are actually no, they did lose in the Pac-12 tournament, but since then, and there's something about the way Oregon plays. That team is like again.
I'm
they're
taking
just
Oregon
such a
in that.
unit.
I'm just
They're
going to say
such
it.
a
I'm
unit.
taking Oregon.
I like Oregon too, and Evan Mobley. I need to see more of Evan Mobley, so I'm definitely going to be watching this game in entirety. But because Evan Mobley, he's supposed to be a top 5 pick, if not top 3.
Catch me taking Oregon in this situation. I mean, I know
like
it's
Oregon
a 6
too,
and 7
though.
seed, and I know that USC just completely obliterated Kansas, but don't even get over the fact that Oregon just completely obliterated Iowa as well. I mean, not completely, but I mean, they outplayed them defensively.
I also think that Kansas is not Kansas right now. Like Eastern Washington, don't get me wrong, played pretty well that game, but the fact that Kansas didn't really you could tell Kansas could have won that game whenever they wanted to.
It was 93-84, Jerry. That's just not.
They just had to start playing. So
it's just not.
And the USC game, it was like, is USC really this good, or is Kansas just playing like shit? So again, that's why I kind of side with Oregon this game. Wouldn't be surprised if Kansas won, but I'm going to side with Oregon. But
all right, so let's real quick. These other ones are a little easier, but we'll go UCLA, Alabama. I'm saying Alabama. I have them in my Final Four.
I'm going to take UCLA.
UCLA. I have them in my. No,
Johnny fucking Juzang is a beast.
Juzang is a scary guy. Like he plays very hard.
We'll see how this.
I think he twisted his ankle in the prior game and still played. So
yeah, and this guy is just an absolute bucket. He does everything for them. He's filthy. I like UCLA. I couldn't go against them at this point. They were really rolling.
And then Baylor, Villanova. I'm gonna take Baylor, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, okay.
No doubt.
I'm gonna take Baylor. I mean, Creighton, Gonzaga.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then right here, this is gonna be I mean, you guys are probably gonna disagree with it. Arkansas and Oral Roberts. I'm taking Oral Roberts.
That's tough. I've seen Arkansas. I thought Texas Tech was going to get the better of Arkansas.
Yeah, I thought Texas.
I didn't love that Arkansas team either. But now the way they've won their 2 games, they are definitely nice. They are nice, and they got good defenders to put on your star players.
They do. I just think that if I want to be on the side of this Oral Roberts team, if they make it, I don't want to be the guys cussing them out.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be either. I think I'm going to go with Arkansas. I feel like they're although. Maybe they do get through, and then Baylor takes them out. I don't know. It'll be a good one.
I don't think Oral Roberts is making it past Baylor, but I think Oral Roberts will make it past Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now, here's the last one. This one's going to be tough. I know Jerry's choice automatically, but Justin and I are going to have a heated debate on this one. It's going to be
tough.
Michigan, Florida State.
It's definitely Michigan.
Give me Michigan, honestly, at this point. Give me Michigan.
All right. I mean,
Florida State.
Michigan.
Actually, the only team Florida State really beat was Colorado.
The only team that Florida State's really got that I'm kind of scared of is Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, but besides that, even him, he's still underdeveloped. He's too raw
and he's not to his peak yet. So,
all right, honestly, the fact that I honestly didn't think that they were going to beat LSU. So the fact that they beat LSU,
I didn't either. LSU was my team. I really thought they were going to go far.
I'll give Michigan. Jerry, I'll back you. I'll back you on this one. I'll back you on it.
I'm telling you, they don't have the best players that they've had in the past. But Juan Howard is a good coach.
Howard, yeah.
And they got good guys. Hunter Dickinson, true freshman, I believe. And the point guard, I forget what his name is. But they're a scary team.
All right,
Go ahead.
No, you wrap it up.
I think Baylor probably wins this tournament, to be totally honest, but go ahead.
I agree.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree.
Other than that, I just had quick. I think we covered everything there. I just had quickly breaking news. Eric Stahl was just recently traded to the Canadians.
For what? No way! Wow.
For a 5th round pick in the 2021 draft and a 3rd round pick. So he's going to the Canadians. Much better team. And here's another fun. And I know, Justin, I'm taking your stat, but the Buffalo Sabres have been shut out more times than they've won games. They have been shut out 7 times.
I think they lost 15 in a row right now, too.
7 games, and they have won. Guess how many games they've won? They've played, I think, 30-plus games. Guess how many they've won?
It's less than 7? Oh, my God. That is terrible.
6.
That is terrible. Oh, my God. And they've lost, I think they've lost 15 straight, like I said. And, they are so awful. They're so awful. The
turnaround there. And even the Rangers, I mean, Zibanejad.
They were supposed to be nice. They're supposed to be nice.
I know.
Going into the year, they brought in Taylor Hall. They have the Rasmuses on D. They got Victor Olsen. They got Jack Eichel. That team is supposed to be good. Jeff Skinner's been a healthy scratch for them some nights. Jeff Skinner, you just gave Jeff Skinner a multi-year $7 million deal, and on the first year of it, he's already being a healthy scratch.
Dude, Jack Eichel needs to leave. Jack Eichel needs to leave. Just gonna say it.
Yeah, they're never gonna let him.
He needs to leave. Oh, they won't.
I think he's loyal.
He's signed for life. He's signed for life. But
yeah, I know.
Last thing.
Either way.
Last thing before we wrap up, just for football, is Carlos Dunlap is running it back with Seahawks, and Leonard Fournette's running it back with the Bucks. No surprise there, really. I don't think Leonard Fournette was going to let up with the Bucks if he was given the opportunity. If they said no, he would have left. But if they said, "Hey, here's a choice," he'll take it.
Yeah,
that's really it for. I mean, there was a lot more tiny trades and minute details, but we went over. I didn't think it was going to take that much, but
I think we covered it all, boys. I think we can wrap up there.
Definitely.
Sounds like a plan.
As always, if you made it this far, we obviously like something. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like and subscribe to the channel. And boys, it was nice talking to you, and I'll see you next week.
It's been real. Peace.